The Miracle on Ice, 1980 Winter Olympics. What? Why is it a miracle?
9. Cable goes mainstream.
On MTV Music Television, you'll never look at music the same way again.
People don't really be watching things on TV like that anymore. Now it's just everything's kind of being streamed online. There's definitely becoming more of a shift now from even just that online space of streaming to a more live version of that. And a lot of people are now starting to really tap into real, like, in-person streamed things, especially like
Spread of HIV/AIDS.
Which shows there's a lot.
Top 10 defining moments of 1980s America. I wonder what these 10 defining moments are and if I recognize or I've heard of any of them. And I'll be very curious to see how true you guys find this watching at home. For those guys that are unaware, bonus content on Patreon. That's going to access all of that nostalgia that I cannot post on here. That's anything from my movie reactions, my album reviews, my sitcom watch parties, as well as just general videos that YouTube won't allow me to post. So if you guys want to get an extra dose of nostalgia, as well as a Gen Z perspective and a lot of these classics that I'm showing you guys on screen and more, then I'll definitely consider checking out the Patreon. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, turn on those notifications so you don't miss another one of these uploads. And like the video and let me know what other things you guys want me to check out. But with that being said, guys, let's get into this video. Let's go. Take these off. From Mojo.
Big hair, big money, big foreign policy change, big groundbreaking technology.
Apparently everyone hated this song. Like, people don't like this song,
The 80s
apparently.
saw America become a greater superpower with all
But
the
yeah, a video killed the radio star. What, the first song that, or the first thing that aired on MTV when that popped up? When MTV was a thing in the 80s? Okay. From what
The 80s saw America become a greater superpower with all the spoils that go with it.
Another
Welcome
MTV
to
video, right?
WatchMojo.com,
Michael
and
Jackson.
today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 defining moments of 1980s America.
We must act today in order to preserve tomorrow.
For this list, we've chosen moments that we felt best represent this essential decade in American history.
Yuppie drone.
A big decade, man.
Yuppie drone.
Yuppie drone.
Number 10, the rise of yuppie culture.
Eggshell with
I've heard of
Ramon tight.
yuppies. American
think?
Psycho.
As the upper class thrived under President Reagan's economics, the world began to take notice of
Young
yuppies,
Donald Trump, wow.
young,
Yuppies.
well-educated professionals with a penchant to spend and an obsession with image.
I always use an aftershave lotion with little or no alcohol because alcohol dries your face out and makes you look older.
Inspired by
Okay.
moguls like Donald Trump, yuppies bought only the finest brands, drove imported automobiles, worked out endlessly, and invested in copious amounts of cocaine, at least according to the stereotype.
Right.
A good bathroom to do coke in.
The 1987
Crazy.
Wall Street crash killed the romanticism of the yuppie, but their stylistic influence lived on.
That's interesting. I didn't realize Donald Trump was yuppie. I don't really know too much about American politics and all that stuff. But it's to say, I've heard of the yuppie stuff. Yeah, like young business professionals. They were romanticized, okay, and then they kind of fell off in the 80s. Okay, I don't know if they were like really a thing after that. Were people really talking about like a yuppie in the 90s onwards? I don't know. I don't think so.
Yuppie drone.
What is that music video? though?
MTV. I want my MTV.
Number 9, cable goes mainstream.
On MTV Music Television, you'll never look at music the same way again.
Early in the decade,
Right.
cable television services became an affordable option for many Americans. A number of specialty channels premiered that vastly affected the country.
This is it. Welcome to MTV Music Television, the world's first 24-hour stereo video music channel.
MTV
I
not
love the
only
hairstyle.
helped unknown artists hit the big time, it also impacted popular fashion and traditional editing styles. ESPN led sports towards years of even greater financial success, while CNN kept people in tune with breaking news. The average way of life was forever altered.
You can depend
Yeah,
on us
MTV is
being
a
here all the
pivotal
time.
point.
And please, pass the word.
That's crazy because
8.
all I know is cable TV now, and even nowadays, especially with like streaming going on now, like even people don't really be watching things on TV like that anymore. Now it's just everything's kind of being streamed online. There's definitely becoming more of a shift now from even just that online space of streaming to a more live version of that. And a lot of people are now starting to really tap into real, like, in-person streamed things, especially like in-person IRL or in real life streams. Like the culture is shifting constantly, man.
The spread of HIV/AIDS,
Which shows that the
damn.
lifestyle of some male homosexuals.
Hold on, let me hear that again, bro.
And please pass the word.
Number 8, the spread of HIV/AIDS.
Which shows that the lifestyle of some male homosexuals has triggered an epidemic of a rare form of cancer.
The HIV/AIDS virus gained official recognition in 1981, kicking off a tumultuous time of death, fear, and prejudice.
And when they started
imagine.
running, did you know that they were running from you or because of you?
Oh,
Yes.
The disease's early prominence in gay male society led to further issues with homophobia. Without
Yikes.
efficient investigation, HIV/AIDS rapidly spread throughout the country's population via drug use, blood transfusions, and intercourse. Cases like Ryan White's raised awareness, leading to slow but steady treatment. Regardless,
Did he
AIDS
have
had already claimed
AIDS?
its largest victim. The sexual revolution was dead.
It would
Yikes.
be years later that the revelation he had AIDS also exposed his homosexuality.
that's tough. He got exposed
Number
through.
7.
Wait, so you telling me this guy got, you know, AIDS, and then that's how he got exposed? Like, I don't know who this person is, and it was undercover, and I can imagine this would have been difficult times for, you know, those who would have been affected by that, because that is serious. Obviously, we know a lot more about it nowadays, but I've heard about the AIDS cry. I've heard of it. Haven't looked into it though.
Dead.
Maybe I will.
It would be
if you guys wanna
years
see
later
it.
that the revelation he had AIDS also exposed his homosexuality.
That is a defining moment.
Number 7, developments in the space program.
Good roll program confirmed. Challenger now
He
heading
is a space
downrange.
operation.
The 80s were a tale of two halves for NASA. In 1981, Space Shuttle Columbia launched from the Kennedy Space Center. The flight served as a successful test for NASA's Space Shuttle program, allowing for many complex space missions. However, things came to a halt when the Challenger exploded shortly after
Yeah.
liftoff in 1986.
Oh,
it just
tough
looked like a
moment.
4th of July fireworks explosion. And certainly the most tragic incident to ever befall the space program, at least at this point it seems that way.
Studies showed significant concerns with proper safety precautions, and the Space Shuttle program was temporarily grounded. Number 6, the war on drugs.
Yeah, that's crazy though, because apparently as well, like some of you guys must have watched that when you were in school. Like this is 80s, so I feel like a lot of young, like Gen Xers probably would have been like teenagers around this time. Like that's a pivotal defining childhood memory. If any of you guys watched that live, oh damn man, the Challenger
Program
exploding.
was temporarily grounded. Number 6, the
Crazy.
war on drugs.
And if you've got to die for something, this sure as hell ain't it.
America faced a dangerous import as crack made its arrival on city streets and
Yeesh.
created media hysteria.
Steve Young reports on a new kind of cocaine called crack.
A more dangerous form of cocaine, crack and other illegal
Wow.
substances led President Reagan to escalate the war on drugs.
And when it comes to drugs and alcohol,
Just say no.
just say no.
I need
Laws
to look
like
into
the
that.
Anti-Drug Abuse Act
I'm
of
gonna probably make a compilation of some of these adverts or the clips around this, and I'm just gonna react to them. I've only just grazed the surface and heard of it, but I'm gonna look more into some of these adverts and to see what they were talking about. Cause
Just say no.
Laws like the
See what you guys
Anti-Drug
think
Abuse
about it.
Act of 1986 sought to solve the problem, while Just Say No
Don't even try
increased
it.
drug education.
It's easy, Kate. All you have to do is
just say no.
Drug arrests
I knew she was gonna say
escalated,
that.
though some questioned the significance in comparison to other crimes.
The Thrill King, damn.
As of tonight, no funds have been placed in escrow, and the Americans, Iranians, and Algerians are still talking.
Number 5, tense relations
Tough,
with Iran.
tough.
As he put it, Iran, quote, managed to rub in the dirt the nose of the world's biggest oppressor and superpower, unquote.
Strained U.S.-Iranian
Ooh.
relations had a
about
massive
a U.S.
domestic effect when Iranian revolutionaries took American diplomats hostage in late 1979.
What?
It ends with the hostages
Hostage?
still in captivity and a world uncertain as to just what is holding up their freedom
Ooh,
for
I
at
didn't know
least
about this.
another agonizing day.
President Jimmy Carter's inability to negotiate a release cost him re-election. Trouble arose later with the Iran-Contra affair.
I've said on several occasions that I wouldn't comment about the recent congressional hearings on the Iran-Contra matter.
Evidence showed that American officials had sold Iran weapons. The U.S. then used the proceeds to aid Contra fighters in Nicaragua, which was previously forbidden by Congress.
And all the while, ways had to be found to contain the US-backed Contra invasion.
Reagan was never proven to know about the sales, but the controversy damaged his reputation.
I can imagine.
Once I realized I hadn't been fully informed, I sought to find the answers.
Well, so they were selling arms.
Answers I don't like.
Number 4,
when they shouldn't have been.
1981 tax cut and Reaganomics.
Yikes.
I have come to speak to you tonight about our economic recovery program and why I believe it's essential that the Congress approve this package.
Okay.
When Ronald Reagan ran for the presidency, he advocated reduced government spending and taxation. He stuck to his guns with a 1981 tax cut on the upper class, hoping that their increased finances would trickle down to lower-income citizens.
Those who do work are denied a fair return for their labor by a tax system which penalizes successful achievement and keeps us from maintaining full productivity.
The cuts set off a large recession, but the economy grew strong and weathered a stock market crash. However, Reagan actually increased military spending and left a massive, troubling budget deficit.
That message was very simple. Our government is too big and it spends too much.
Nintendo, the world's #1 game.
It's to say, when it comes to all of this stuff, I don't know. Reagan seems like he was he did quite a bit in the 80s. I don't know if he was one of those light presidents. It doesn't sound like it, but I mean, you guys let me know if you want to share some insight into how some of these things may have affected you. Tax cuts, recession, weathering a storm. Sounds hectic.
Nintendo, the world's #1 game system.
Nintendo.
Number 3, electronic innovations.
The personal system 2. Will this be a major event in personal computing history or just another new product introduction?
Those computers are
The
so
80s
big.
proved a prominent decade for electronics development. The video game market had been left in tatters following a 1983 crash, but in 1985, Nintendo introduced the NES to North America and erased any memory of it.
That is a visual.
The console's quality design and impressive library revitalized video gaming. In the computer world, IBM introduced their first PC in 1981. Competitors were blown away, and its engineering became standard, paving the way for the dominance of PCs.
Wow. And while the rest of the clone makers have been struggling and agonizing over how to move to 32 bits, IBM now has done it. And I think that other people that make machines in the desktop area are going to have to follow that.
Number 2, pollution persists.
The foundation for technology.
This is by far the largest oil spill ever recorded in U.S. waters. And yet apparently there are still more than 40 million gallons of crude oil remaining on the tanker.
Despite the environmental movement, major ecological problems still existed. In 1989, the Exxon Valdez struck an Alaskan reef and dropped gallons of oil, ravaging wildlife.
And still we're having problems with birds, and we're having problems with otters. And so if you look at all these different pieces, suddenly the puzzle starts coming into focus, and it looks very much like we're having long-term damage.
Exxon was using outdated equipment, but ensuing regulations provided hope of avoiding future incidents. Meanwhile, the Chernobyl nuclear power plant accident released radiation across Europe.
Good evening. In the news today, there was an accident at a Soviet nuclear plant causing some casualties.
The resulting concern was helpful in encouraging the USSR to negotiate with America to bring about our #1 moment. Before we unveil our top pick, here are some honorable mentions.
The Miracle on Ice, 1980 Winter Olympics. What? Why is it a miracle? Hits, theaters, E.T. Okay, I haven't seen that movie. I might need to check that out. What is going on here? They're getting abducted. Okay.
If you've been anywhere near...
Sorry, it kills me that everyone used to ride bikes in their childhood in the 80s, especially. So just seeing a bunch of kids riding their bicycles, and I'm sure their imagination is running wild, and a movie like E.T. comes along, and these kids are doing the same thing. but then their cars, I mean, their bikes end up getting they start flying into the sky. Yo, I need to know the context behind that, but that looks, that's just funny. The effects on that are terrible.
If you've been anywhere near a television set
the
or a
assassination
radio
of
these past few hours, you already know that John Lennon of the Beatles is dead.
He got assassinated.
Specifically, we agreed
Is
in
that
Geneva.
how John Lennon got assassinated? Why are they assassinating John Lennon though? What's he got to do? Why? You normally hear that stuff with presidents. Why is an artist getting assassinated? That's crazy though.
John Lennon of the Beatles is dead.
Specifically, we agreed in Geneva that each side should move to cut offensive nuclear arms by 50%.
Number 1, the Cold War ends, concern shifts to China.
In China, the will of the people has been thwarted by the will of the people's government.
When he entered office, President Reagan carried a headstrong resolve to end the Cold War.
The end of the Cold War.
He got his opportunity. With the Soviet economy stalling, Mikhail Gorbachev welcomed communications with Americans. He signed a number of weapons treaties with Reagan, including START 1.
You've got the two leaders of these two powerful countries running way beyond their arms controllers and their defense ministries and their state departments and saying, let's get rid of nuclear weapons.
Slowly,
That's a big moment.
Soviet governments gave way to elections, and the Berlin Wall fell.
The Berlin
Meanwhile,
Wall.
over in China, student protesters were killed at Tiananmen Square.
Oh yeah, because wasn't Germany like split into like 2 parts for the longest time? Kind of like, ain't there a Great Wall of China as well? So I could be mixing up. I vaguely remember going over some of the Cold War in my history lessons. I should probably do a recap on it. Check out some videos if you guys want to see that. But the Berlin Wall comes down, the end of the Cold War. Okay, this is very political times.
Soviet governments gave way to elections,
a lot of political
and the Berlin
tension.
Wall fell. Meanwhile, over in China, student protesters were killed at Tiananmen Square for protesting the communist government. A long-time war was over, but other threats were alive and well. Do you agree with our list?
Wild.
Which events do you think defined 1980s America and beyond?
Donald George
For more
Carlin.
informative top 10s published every day, be sure to subscribe
National
to
Lampoon.
WatchMojo.com.
E.T. I need to check out that movie on. Probably check it out at some point. Wow, guys. What a throwback, man. Look, let me know if that brought back any memories for you guys. I'll be so curious to see if you guys agree with this list. And if so, what particular, things do you remember? Like, and how did that, what memories does this bring out of you guys? If you agree. If you watch this from another country, I'll be very curious to see as well, like, your perspective on this as well. If you're not from the US. And maybe what are some key defining moments of the 80s for wherever you live? I couldn't really tell you, key defining moments in 80s UK because I wasn't alive and I probably wasn't paying attention for my history lessons that much, but I'm sure there was a couple. But yeah, this is interesting stuff, man. Like, quite a few of these things sound interesting. I might dive a little bit deeper into some of the particular parts that were talked in this video. I'll be very curious as well if you guys want to see that. Of course, it makes this point comment on a blue heart, so I know who my wrongs are. Who made this point in the video, as always, guys. You guys know, you guys watch it through to the end. You guys are the realest of the real. Of course, if you want to see more of these kinds of videos, I always have a playlist links at the end of the video. And it's on my channel. You can check out all my playlists. I've got quite a few now. So if you want to just binge a few of these reactions that you like, then yeah, I've got a few in the playlist section. And of course, don't forget to like the video before you head on out. And as always, guys, look, I've been over JayFlex, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.